Hello YouTube, this is Emma from Emma's Bookish Lifestyle, and you might be laughing at the way I've got my glasses posed on the edge of my nose, but it's so that you don't see masses of reflection in it, and it's the best way that I can do it and still read the list I've got on a bit of paper in front of me. So this is the All About the Reading tag, and was originated with Mirian. It's an original tag of hers, and her channel is Between Lines and Life, which I shall tag down below. And without further ado, let's just get stuck in straight away to the questions. So question 1 was, what do you look for most when you pick up a book? And it's either A, a beautiful writing style, B, a character driven story, or C, a plot driven story. Well, characters have been key for me for quite a while, but I do think that all of them are relevant to some extent. If I don't like the writing style, it can put me off reading the book. If I can't connect or empathise at all with the characters, that can put me off reading a book. And if the plot is slow, dry or predictable, at times that can also put me off reading a book. However, they can also be things that make me want to read a book. So I wouldn't say that I specifically look for one criteria out of the three. I tend to look at the premise of the book, and if it's something that is of interest to me, then I will go for it. Question 2, what are your pet peeves in books? Well, the first two are quite predictable really. If you're a YA reader, and I do sometimes read YA, it's insta-love and love triangles. So predictable, so over it, so done that, so done the whole Twilight love triangle thing. It's very boring. Another pet peeve is really small font in a book that is quite a small book. I'm getting on in my years, bless me. I have glasses. I need to sometimes be able to read a book that's got font bigger than the size of the end of a pin. So I do struggle a little bit with small font. Don't get me wrong, I'm not after massive font either. But I do like a reasonable standardised book font that is readable to everybody. And boring covers. Plain, dull, uninteresting, irrelevant book covers to what is secured behind it. I don't care what anybody says, we all fall in love with books from the outside in. We're drawn in by the books themselves and their beautiful covers and their beautiful edges and their end papers, but it's the content and the story itself that we really want to read. So excuse the barking in the background, that would be the dogs in the back garden with the neighbours. So question 3, if you could print one quote on your wall, which one would it be? Well, I've chosen a Maya Angelou quote, which is, "Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage you cannot practice any of the other virtues consistently." So Maya Angelou is a big influence. She means quite a lot to me, so that's good. Question 4, which genre would you like to explore more? Well, when I was younger I was into David Eddings and sort of more science fiction and fantasy, and I'd like to kind of redraw in on that. I have got some books sitting on my giant TBR, but I just haven't had the chance to get around to them, so I really need to make more time to read that genre. Was there ever a movie adaptation you liked better than the book? This is question 5. And I would say no, there's never been some that I felt are better than the book. Some are the same but not better. Some examples being The Help by Catherine... sorry, excuse my terrible writing. Catherine Stockett, that's her name. And The Hidden Figures by Margaret Lee Shetterly. And again, sorry, I don't know why I'm stuttering. But they were two phenomenal films and I loved the books, and so I wasn't at all disappointed in them. Ready Player One I liked, but from a completely different aspect to that of the book. I think they were somewhat standalone. Although the premise was similar in the film, it was suitably different enough from the book to be almost two separate entities. So I have also done a video on that, so if you're interested, by all means check that video out, where I check out the book to movie adaptation. Question 6. If one of your favourite books would be adapted or get a new adaptation, which book would it be and which role would you like to play? Well, it's a new favourite, but I would really love them to do a film adaptation of Nevermore. I'm already feeling it. I think it's going to be a phenomenal book series. I've just finished book 1 and I would love to, if I was a few years younger, be Morrigan Crow. I think she's an amazing female protagonist and I completely loved it. Question 7. A hyped book you wouldn't recommend at all. Well, this is going to raise some eyebrows, I'm sure. And I know that there are a lot of booktubers out there in the community that love this book, but I really would not recommend The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock. I found it dry, disappointing, and as a historical fiction reader, just, it didn't grab my attention. That whole plot-driven story thing, too slow, didn't really appeal, and I think I'm starting to feel that maybe I don't have that love of magical realism that maybe you need for that kind of book. Question 8. A book that highly influenced your life and way of thinking. Well, there's 2 books. Diary of Anne Frank opened my eyes to the horrible nature of World War II and also the way that humanity can treat people who are different and deemed not acceptable. And I've always chosen to be the kind of person who accepts everybody, colour, creed, sexuality. I take great pride in that. I believe that everybody is entitled to be what they want to be, who they want to be, believe in what they want to believe. I don't feel that there are any faiths, sexual orientations or physical orientations that should prevent you from being who you are. I think it's very much each individual is an individual and should be treated accordingly. Off my soapbox and on to the next one, which is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I know I've mentioned this before, but man oh man, that woman can write to your heart, rip it out and put it back in with a positivity and a hope that you couldn't imagine anybody in that position being able to ever find again. And she is an amazing authoress, sadly no longer with us, but definitely somebody I highly recommend you read if you haven't already. Question 9. Are you a fan of rereading books? Do you do it often? Yes, I am a fan of rereading books. I don't tend to do it often because there's so many new ones out there, but I tend to, if I do a reread, it's an old favourite or something that I've always loved and constantly go back to, Diary of Anne Frank being one of them. I always like to read that every few years just to remind me of that humble side that we all need to pertain as a human. And so I do reread, but not as much as I would maybe like to if there weren't as many great new books coming out every year. Question 10. Which book title could easily be the title of your life? A Year of Marvellous Ways. I think this year is a year of marvellous ways. I have a new job, I have a new partner, I have a beautiful little daughter who's listening in the bath as we speak, and is yelling and saying hello from the bath. Yes, so I think this is definitely a year of marvellous ways. And question 11, which is the last question, which book should be required reading for everyone? Well, that's again another new book that I read and also had the audiobook of last year, and that was towards the end of last year for Non-Fiction November, and that was East West Street by Philip Sands, which is a book that is very hard-hitting, but makes you have a look at yourself, makes you have a look at perceptions and also the history of the creation of the terms of genocide and crimes against humanity, and it is something that I think all people can read and should read, and definitely around the sort of the GCSE era when you're studying World War II in history. I think that is an important concept to take on board. So last but not least, who am I going to tag? Well, I'm going to tag 4 people. I'm going to tag Lauren in the books, because I don't think she's been tagged already. Dave from Wild Reads. Matt from MCS Books. Ollie Bliss. And the lovely Kerry Ann from Woman vs Books. And I really look forward to seeing their replies. As I say, apologies for the nighttime filming and bit of reflection on the glasses, but I hope you're all well, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Take care. Bye.